Hi everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. We got the front end all back together in our 76 D100 pickup. Now it's time to put an alignment in it. So we took it outside and bounced it around in the yard a little bit to get everything, all our new stuff kind of settled in. Then I brought it back in and I tightened up the pivot bolts on the lower control arm with the vehicle at ride height like it is now. Now we've got it set up on our turn plates. You don't really need these to do a home alignment. 2 square pieces of steel with a little oil between them will work just as well. A couple of peel and stick linoleum tiles with some oil in between them. Anything you got that'll just get rid of that friction between the tire and the floor will work. We're going to be using this thing. I think I bought it at Summit Racing. It served me well over the years. So the first thing we've done is we've got the wheels tightened up and we've made sure our air pressure is correct. Also worth noting, before I put the truck up on here, I put the turn plates down where they were going to be and found that the floor over on this side, you can see, was 1/4 of an inch lower than the floor on that side. So I put a 1/4 of an inch shims underneath this turn plate, and we checked it. It's perfectly level now from side to side. So we can go ahead and start working on this thing. Also, when we clamp this thing on, we have to make sure that it is perfectly plumb, which it is. So what we're going to aim for is the camber. They want 0 to positive a half. We're going to try to keep it right at 0, and even I might go, if I can get it, I might go with a negative a half. And that starts to get kind of a sportier feel. If you can get just a tiny bit of negative camber and, you know, at least 3 degrees of positive caster, you're going to have a sporty feeling drive. It may take a little effort to turn it, but it'll be fun to drive. So that's what we're going to go for. 0 at a bare minimum on the camber, and 3 degrees if we can get it on the caster. So you set the caster first, because that involves basically twisting using the cams to twist the control arm, so you're moving the ball joint fore and aft. And then once you've got the caster set, then you turn the cams to move the complete control arm in and out to get the camber. So what we're going to do now is first we're going to check it. So we're going to get this thing into caster mode, and we're going to turn the wheel out 15 degrees, set this to 0, and then turn it in 15 degrees to get our caster sweep and see what we've got. So there we can see we've got 0. Now we're going to turn it right through center to 15 degrees in, and we'll see what we've got. So you can see here we've got 2 degrees. So what we're going to do is work on the cams. We're going to try and move the upper ball joint back a little bit, and that will get us some more caster. There we go, 3 degrees, perfect. So what we'll do now is we'll set the wheels back straight and see what the camber is. Now, to find camber on these things, we loosen that, and then this little set screw here goes into a little hole, and that'll get us right where we need. There. So now we're checking camber, and you can see here we've got about one degree positive of camber. That's no good. That's not what we want. So now we're going to turn the cams to move the whole. We're going to try and move the whole control arm out to get our camber down to 0. No, pardon me. We got to move the whole control arm in because we're trying to reduce the positive. So positive camber, which is what it's got now, is the top of the wheel out. We want the wheel perfectly plumb, or the top of it even in a tiny bit. So we'll turn on the cams, we'll pull that control arm back in, and then once we've got this back to, we'll try to just aim for 0. Once we've got that at 0, then we have to recheck the caster, because in the process of pulling the whole control arm straight in, we could have moved it this way or that, which will affect the caster. Okay, so this is always a trade-off. In order for me to get 3 degrees of caster, the lowest I can get the camber down is an 1/8 of a degree positive. I can't get it down to 0. I just don't have enough. I just don't have enough swing in the cams. That's why guys will use the offset bushings in these things. But I'm pretty sure that that'll be okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to carefully tighten up the nuts on the cams and make sure nothing moves. So there you can see we've got our 3 degrees of caster. Now we'll put it straight and switch it back to camber mode. And there we are. It's hard to see, but the center of the bubble is an 1/8 of a degree positive. So I'm gonna get the torque wrench and torque those nuts, and we'll check it one last time. Okay, that's this side done. With any luck, we can duplicate it on the other side. So our first shot on this side, we got around 0 on the camber, and you can see here about 2.5 on the caster. So what we've got to do is work the cams. We have to gain a little bit of caster, and in the process, we'll give up some of the camber, and we should be able to get it exactly the same as the other side, because the book says no variation side to side. Okay, let's see how we do. We've been sneaking up on it. We've got it towed out and got the gauge zeroed. So or turned out, pardon me. We'll turn it in 15 degrees and see what our gauge goes to. Almost there. I know it's hard to see the bubble, but let's see if we put the light on it. It's hard to see, but we've got about 2 7/8. So I'm going to put it back straight and we'll see what the camber is. It's now at +1/8 and a skosh. So I think if I touch that front cam just one more time to give it a tiny bit more caster, we should get 3 and bring the camber to exactly what it is on the other side. And I learned if you remove these rubber aprons that fill the gap between the inner fender and the frame rail, you can actually quite easily get at the back side of the cam bolts, and they're easy to turn. So that's what we're doing, and so far so good. Now I went too far. I've got about 3 1/8, so we'll dial it back a little bit. All right, let's see. I think we've got it pretty close now. Getting one wheel where you want it is not so bad. Getting the other wheel exactly the same is a bit of a job, but we can do it. Okay, there we are. We've got the caster sweep zeroed. Now we'll go turn the wheel in 15 degrees and see what we get. So it's hard to see there, but we've got like 3 1/8. On the other side, we've got 3. If you are going to have a touch more camber or caster on one side than the other, it's better to have the touch more on the left to help deal with the crown of the road a little bit, right? But anyway, no biggie. Let's see what the camber is. So we'll put it back in camber mode. We'll loosen the lock screw and then turn in the set screw and see what we've got. And there's our 1/8 or 1/4 degree positive camber, just like we've got on the other side. So if I can just take a tiny bit of caster back out of this side, it'll be perfect. We'll be all set. There we are. I'm trying to get so you can see the bubble. Exactly 3 degrees of caster on the positive side. So we're going to put it back to 0, dead straight, and we'll see what the camber is. So the last time we had the caster right bang on where we wanted it, but the camber had gone to the negative side. So I'm just trying to get it back just a touch positive like the other side. So let's see what we've done. So here we've maintained our 3 degrees of positive caster. Let's just check the camber and see what we've got. Oh, and by the way, I accomplished that by turning both cams equal amounts to move the whole control arm out, right, toward us. I hope I'm doing a terrible job of explaining this. I think what I have to do, I'm going to make another alignment video, but I'm going to start with parts on the bench and do kind of a theory demonstration, at least as, you know, to my limited ability. Anyway, enough of that. Let's check the camber. All right, so the caster is kind of a shy positive 1/4. It's a positive, a fat 1/8 on the other side. So we call that close enough. So what I got to do now is very carefully, well, not carefully, but I'm going to slowly crank down the lock nuts on the cams, and then we'll double check it just to make sure nothing moves. So once we torqued everything, it's amazing. Everything you do affects it. The caster did go down to about 2 7/8, but that's quite fine. So now we've got a titch more on the left side, which is a-okay. Won't hurt a thing. And our camber stayed around positive 1/4. So we're all set there. Now we can go ahead and work on the toe. Also, the factory, I believe, calls for 70 foot-pounds on the nuts on the cams, but I did these at 60 because the factory bolts have a flat only on one side, and these ones have a flat on 2 sides. So effectively, I mean, at least 1/3 of the thread is gone from the bolt. So I didn't want to push my luck over tightening it. Alrighty, so now we get the toe plates out. These are left over from my racing days. If you don't have anything fancy like this, I mean, you can buy a set of Longacre toe plates. They're cheap enough. It's just a hunk of sheet aluminum. But failing that, all you need is to sit 2 bricks, a brick in front and a brick behind, and a piece of angle iron across it touching the tire. That works just fine too. Just all you're looking for is a reference. So we've got strung across here 2 tape measures. They're exactly the same tape measures, bought them on the same day. So what we do is we do our toe setting, and then just to confirm, the last thing we do once we've got it set is we swap the tape measures around and make sure we get the same answer. That eliminates them as a variable, right? So what we're looking for on this is the book calls for a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch of toe in. In modern times, they do it in degrees, but in the old days, it was a fraction of an inch, right? And the newer the parts in your front end, the tighter you can run it, right? So everything is new in this front end, so we're gonna aim for the low side of the scale. We're gonna go for a 1/16. And the first time I checked it, I've got 80 7/8 at both ends. That's what a good job we did matching the lengths of our new tie rod assemblies to our old ones. Not bad, eh? So we're just going to crawl under there, and I'm going to turn. I have no reason to believe that it's the wheel isn't centered. We'll find out when we actually drive it. But so I'm going to go under there and move each tie rod an equal amount, and see if we can get a 1/16th of toe in, and then we'll have to drive it and see if the steering wheel is straight. If the steering wheel is not straight, that's our last adjustment, is centering the wheel. Okay, so after just a minor little tweak here, we've got 80 and 13/16 at the front. And we've got 80 and 7/8 at the back. That means we're towed in a 1/16 of an inch. So what I'm going to do now, like I said, I'm going to flip the tape measures and we'll check our work. Alrighty, I flipped the tape measures and the measurements were confirmed. So what we're going to do now is just, I'm going to lightly lock down the tie rod ends. And once we know that the wheel is centered, or if we have to adjust it, we'll actually tighten them properly and torque them up at that point. Now we got her outside and we're going to see if the steering wheel's straight. Let's see here. So we're going to go in a straight line over here toward the gate. Yep, look at that. It's perfect. Awesome. That went great. Once it's on the road, I got to drive, put 1,000 miles or so on it, and then we're going to get it in here, get it on the plates, get the alignment thing on it again, and double check it, because I got a feeling that stuff is going to kind of settle and squish in, and we might have to tweak our settings a little bit. But so far, so good. I was really happy to get it outside, steering wheel straight. It's all good to go. Anyway, another job well done. I'm going to take off now. I'd like to thank you for tuning into our channel. I hope you'll come back and see us again. And until then, I'm Kevin saying so long from the Claremont Classic Garage.